You know, as somebody who's in shape, somebody who obviously is not fat, as you can see in the thumbnails, you can see who I am. Like, I've always studied fat guys who do attract women because that is a thing. And I know a lot of people have told me this when I tell people to get in shape because they'll attract women and things like that. They'll also say, well, what about the fat guy who attracts women? And you have to understand what being fat signals to women. And as a man who's trying to become a better version of himself physically, and obviously to also attract women as well, obviously for yourself, right? I have to say that, but also to attract women, you have to understand why fat guys do attract women when they actually do. Because there's a lot of fat guys who don't, right? But there are a select few fat guys that do. And there's two main reasons that I've learned, and there's probably other reasons as well, but for me personally that I've noticed that work for fat guys. Obviously, the first is that they're a walking signal of a wallet that is open for them to be able to use, right? I see a lot of fat guys who are rich, right? Get a lot of beautiful women. And obviously they're with them for the money, right? They're with them for the money. They're also with them for the fact that they know that that man is lower on the SMV scale, sexual market value scale. I got to use these terms. That's what you understand. Like, they understand that this man will be able to always pander to them because of their beauty, because they eclipse him in the sexual market, right? And they know that they will always have unlimited access to his funds because obviously he's rich, right? Obviously he has the money, and obviously he also doesn't have the access to attract other women without his money. So if they can just be there, if they can sit there, they can literally be with that guy. That's one thing that I noticed, right? That's one thing, right? There's other aspects to that as well, but that's a main thing that I've noticed with fat guys that are rich is that they attract women because their wallet's open. They always try to signal that they have money, and they always try to overcompensate for the lack of physique that they have. And granted, a lot of them don't even care about having the physique because they've always been able to get the women because they have the money, right? And in their mind, they're warped into thinking like, oh, because I have the money, I can always have the women. Now, can you retain that woman? Can that woman not cheat on you? I mean, that woman will cheat on you for sure. The type of women that you're going to attract when you flaunt your money are going to be women who are opportunists, right? Of course. Now, when it comes to women who are solid, right? What does being fat actually attract, right? When it comes to women who are solid, why are some women who are solid attracted to fat guys, right? One, it can also be that there's no dread that's being practiced in the relationship. Like the man doesn't have that dread factor to where he's like they know that when they have him, he's always going to be there, right? They know that, right? They know that they don't have to worry about any competition. They don't have to worry about anything. They're good, right? That man's not going to attract any other woman. This is for a man a fat guy who doesn't really have that much money, because there are fat guys who don't have that much money that still attract beautiful women, right? And part of that is the lack of dread. There's a comfort in that. They know that they can stay around. They know that they can be there, and they can always have that man. There's never a dread factor. And all dread is basically like thinking that they can lose him at any point in time. They don't believe that. They believe, hey, if I just look the way that I look, and this man will accept me for who I am, right? I don't have to worry about it. He probably doesn't have boundaries, right? He most likely doesn't have any boundaries, because why would he have boundaries? He probably doesn't have that many options at all. And they're just comfortable, right? And obviously when women are comfortable, they will start to resent the guy, because now they're like, well, why am I with this man in the first place? But in the beginning, that attraction is like, man, finally a man that I can be comfortable, and I don't have to feel like, I can be disposed of at any point in time. Now, there is a nuance to this that a lot of guys don't realize. And this is where you, as a man who is in shape or is getting in shape, can learn and be able to maximize your experience with women. And that is the certain level of charisma that fat guys fucking have. And you have to understand, like, I've boiled down what charisma is at a very second grade level. And all it is being very comfortable in yourself and your inadequacies, and almost joking. Like, it's like self-deprecation if you have things that are obvious, right? When you self-deprecate yourself, when you have these flaws, these obvious flaws, it makes you a lot more charismatic, because it shows that you don't necessarily care and you're not insecure about yourself. Now, where a lot of jack guys, a lot of guys who have a lot of muscle go wrong is that they don't develop that level of charisma. They still have that insecurity inside, and they almost become like a walking billboard for anxiety, right? It screams anxiety. because they're always focused on how they look. They're always looking in the mirror. They're always doing all these different things. They have like a super, super high level of narcissism, right? Which you have to have a healthy level of narcissism. But a lot of these guys don't necessarily understand that, like, yeah, you can be jacked, but the reason why you're not attracting women because you're jacked is because you don't have that level of charisma that fat guy might have, which honestly is sometimes more magnetic than you being in shape. If you're in shape and you're charismatic, you've won the game, bro. You've won the entire game. Like, and you make some money too, like, you're good. But a lot of these fat guys will beat out the jack guys because the jack guys won't know how to speak to a woman because they don't necessarily understand women very well. They don't understand what turns them on, what turns them off. They think it's just the body. They think it's all that. And it's not, bro. Like, it literally is the charisma. And to be able to develop charisma, you have to be comfortable in your own skin. You have to be comfortable with the identity that you carry. You have to be fully embodied in the identity that you are. A lot of guys are jacked, but they act like little kids. And they wonder why they can't attract any women. They wonder why it turns women off. Sometimes, yes, being jacked or being in shape, like that will scare off a woman who sees you as somebody who's disciplined, and maybe she doesn't feel like she holds the standard to that and she feels intimidated. Of course, there are guys who are in really, really good shape that will intimidate women. That's a thing. But what these fat guys do very, very well is they weaponize their fatness. They weaponize the fatness that they have. They use it as almost like a comical thing. Like, they'll make jokes and shit. They'll eat bullshit and just make jokes like, hey, I'm fat, who gives a fuck? Like, they just have this nonchalantness to them and they kind of accept the identity that they have. They're fully congruent. That's what you have to understand. Being charismatic is all about being congruent with who you are and projecting that congruency to other people, which a lot of people don't necessarily do, especially when they're in shape. They don't have that congruency factor. They still have this insecurity. They still feel like they're tiny inside. They still feel like they're immature. They're that little kid who still got bullied. And they don't embody that dominant identity that they've built externally, internally. So this incongruency has them lose attraction to women in general, whereas the fat guy is fully congruent, which gives him a level up, right? And this is what I'm talking about. If the fat guy doesn't have money, if he has money, then yeah, it's going to be easy for him to attract women. Obviously, he's going to attract a certain category of women. But the fat guys who attract real women who are solid, it's because they're super congruent and they're also fun to be around. They know how to talk to women. They know how to make them laugh. Fat guy, if you're fat, you better be funny. You better be fucking hilarious. And that's the thing. Women love humor. They love being entertained. So if you can be funny all the fucking time, they're going to like you. They're going to be attracted to you. You're going to be a good person to be around. They'll trust you even more because you're congruent. Women don't trust the man that's incongruent, right? They don't trust the man that is projecting one thing, but they can feel internally that person's self-image is the complete opposite of what they're projecting. They call them fake. They say there's something off about them. Right? Their radar starts to go off. Like, what's wrong with, there's something that I can't put my finger on that I just don't like about this guy, no matter how in shape he is, you know? And fat guys do a really good job, the ones that are successful, right? Because there are fat guys who are just unsuccessful in general. That's a bad place to be in. If you're fat and you still are not congruent and you still have these insecurities and you haven't accepted yourself and you also don't want to make the change to transform your physique, you're already cooked, bro. But what a lot of these fat guys do that you can take as a man who is getting in shape or as a man who's already in shape in peak physical condition is starting to be a lot more charismatic, starting to be more congruent with who you truly are, all of the interests that you like, being eclectic, understanding different things, being able to start conversations. Fat guys know how to do that because they compensate for how fat they are with like all of the stuff that they know and their understanding of human nature. If you as a man are in shape, but you don't understand human nature, you will never get your way in business. You'll never get your way with women. You'll never get your way with anything. You'll always feel stuck and you'll always think, and now you'll get to that point where you resent the whole physique thing because you're like, this shit didn't work. No, it's an amplifier. You having the physique that you have is an amplifier, right? And the crazy part about how fat guys amplify themselves by being fat is the fact that it amplifies their authenticity in a weird way. It's hard to really put my finger on this shit. When I would see fat guys and they'd make me laugh. If you're fat and you're not funny, bro, like that's a bad place to be. Like every time I would see fat guys who would always get the attention of people, they were just these jolly people. They're like fucking Santa Claus. You see Santa Claus is fat as shit, but he's fun to be around, or he's fun to imagine, right? He's always happy and shit. He's always living life. He always has a positive mindset. That's the only way that you can utilize being fat to attract women. But I think by default, if you're a man who's in shape and you also carry those characteristics, you beat the fat guy every time. Every single time. You also beat the fat guy with money, by the way, because the fat guy with just money isn't going to win if he's not charismatic, right? Money's not the equalizer that you guys think it is. It's again, it's another amplifier. If you have it, great. If you don't, you can compensate with other things. Always go and try to make some money, right? Of course, always have streams of income and stuff like that. But when I noticed that, you know, fat people were getting women and there were fat people who weren't, I saw the difference like right away, night and day. And I also related it to, okay, when you do get in shape, how do you embody those traits to be the complete man that can attract women? Because once you can do that shit, you're a superpower, bro. You're like a walking superhero. If you can be charismatic, you can be funny. And having a physique already gives you an aura. Like people don't need to have you open your mouth to even be interested in you, right? But you have to give off this aura of self-assuredness, this aura of like you're comfortable in your own skin, this aura of you're not overly anxious about who you are, you're not pruning in the mirror all the fucking time, you're not like too focused on macros and shit. You can be focused on macros behind closed doors, but when you make that a religion so that every social interaction you go to, you bring Tupperware or you do whatever, like that shit kills social situations. And so what I've noticed that is the biggest signal is congruency, right? And here you don't want to just attract women. You want to attract high quality women. That's what I'm trying to help you do, is attract high quality women, not just any woman out there. And fat guys attract high quality women by simply being congruent and simply accepting who they are and having this level of secureness, this level of confidence, right? Confidence is just congruency in who you are. You know who you are, you accept who you are, and you can make jokes about shit that obviously is real. That's how jokes happen. Right? Jokes happen because you're making fun of things that are reality, but you're saying it in a joking way. And you're very lighthearted about it. And as a man, you should be able to do that. You should be able to look at any inadequacies that you have that people, you know, it's obvious, and just crack jokes about it, bro. You don't have to be serious all the time. You know what I mean? And that's what I've noticed. Like fat guys either get women or they are completely off. And I think most men would benefit if they get in shape and also carry the characteristics of a fat guy. Not the characteristics in terms of like their diet and like not training at all and being lazy, but the social characteristics of a fat guy. Because a fat guy has to compensate for his lack of physical excellence with a level of social charisma that is off the fucking charts. Off the charts. And if you as a man can do that, you can start to build a lot of good social relationships and people will start to like you way more than a fat guy would, than they would like a fat guy. But you have to understand that difference. And when I noticed this signal that fat guys were having, I was like, okay, how can I hijack that shit? Okay, well, I got to start being congruent, right? When I was younger, I was always, you know, I was a guy who never got attention when I was super scrawny, super skinny. I was always picked last. I was always, you know, and I had to basically overshadow that and balance that shit out and start to become who I truly needed to be and be open with who I am to be able to lose that side of me that would hold me back even when I was in shape. Because you have to be able to talk to them. You have to be charismatic. You have to be able to open up. You have to be able to not give a fuck what they think and say what it is that you want. Fat guys, you know what's crazy? They do a really good job. And this is why it signals positivity to women, because they literally don't care. Like the fat guys who don't care what women think and just say whatever it is that they want, there's a certain level of attraction that woman has for that man because he's so authentic. He's very congruent. And the jack guy, sometimes they get so anxious because maybe they built their physique for women, which is the wrong thing to do, of course. I mean, we do it internally, but like you can start to map that motivation towards, okay, I want to just be a better version of myself because I know that's going to attract better people. You can start to take those traits. You can start to take those social traits and apply it to you, and you become a fucking superhero. You become literally like Thanos, right? Because you just are a good person to be around. People like you. You're not overly like, you don't optimize you don't overly optimize shit, right? Because when you get in shape, you have a lot of muscle. You have leeway to, like, you know, be in social scenario. You can have a drink here and there. You can do all these things. You're not going to wake up and you're up 5-10 pounds. So use that to your advantage in social situations, right? Use that. Use what the fat guy does. Just don't take his habits. Take his personality. Because if you're jacked and you have a fat guy's personality, you fucking win every time. You're funny as shit. People just love being around you. You're like an outgoing person. And when you realize that this is what fat people do, obviously the money part happens as well. Those are the two sides that, like, I see fat people. That's what they signal to women. Now, also the downside to that, fat guys can also signal negative things in women as well that look for men who are in shape, right? They can signal women who want a guy who's disciplined. Like, when you're fat, it signals that you're not disciplined whatsoever. You don't give a fuck about yourself, and the women will be like, well, how can I trust that this man is solid if he doesn't give a fuck about himself? He has no discipline. Like, how will I know that he can discipline himself if he's with me? Like, there's certain levels of negative signals that they have as well. I'm not sitting here glorifying fat people, but I'm saying you can use that shit as a fucking weapon. You can use understanding fat people in social scenarios as a weapon. And a lot of men don't do that. Study fat people, bro. I'm telling you, study them, because they're very interesting people. And they have these certain traits that a lot of people who are in shape don't have, which has them lap female attraction. Lap jack guys in female attraction. This is a very interesting social observation I've made. But I mean, I hope this was valuable for you to understand that you need to be charismatic. You need to be congruent. You need to be somebody who's comfortable in their own skin, even when you're in shape, because you got to have that. You can't just have the physique and not have everything else. You know what I mean? So hope this was valuable for you. Links will be in the description if you're interested in any of the products that I have, any of the courses, the programs that I have on getting in shape, if that's something you want, mastering communication and presence, because that's something that I've done, and I've been able to package that up into a framework that you can use for yourself. Even building a YouTube channel here, if you want to learn how to do that, I have that as well. I've gotten some guys who are like, man, this is better than some 5K coaching and courses that I've had before. Like, this is way more valuable, and it's literally a tiny fraction of that price. But again, I hope this was valuable for you. I'm gonna catch you on the next video.